Hey everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices, TV show and podcast. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Please check out our catalog of additional episodes, over 330 of those that we have. I believe we are uh, episode wise, I believe we are on 340 today. So it's just incredible. So thank you so much for tuning in, however you do, wherever you do, near, far, listen, watch, uh, regardless of the platform. It's just a joy and a humbling experience to come into your home, your earbuds, wherever you may be. Again, pushing 90 countries, close to 900 cities across the world. And we have this huge goal of helping, in one way or another, 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. Before we get started, if you could just give us a thumbs up, if you could subscribe, please subscribe, please subscribe, please subscribe, and you guessed it, please subscribe. That helps us get closer to that real lofty goal that we have. But we're dreaming, and that's our dream is to help at least 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond with Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us. This episode is a little bit of an update from episode number 307. And in episode 307, no matter wherever you find it, if you find it on YouTube or Rumble or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you find your content, your podcast. You want to look at episode 307 to have a little bit of a grounding of where or what we're talking about, because we described what we're going to be sharing here on this episode number 340. We described that on episode 307. And really what it comes down to is in the state of California, uh, they they have bills and acts, that go through legislature and the political process there. And so we don't live in California. That's why when I say there, that's what I'm referring to there, because we don't reside there. But in episode 307, we had heard something about something called Assembly Bill 495, and that's a state bill, a state law that was being floated by uh, lawmakers in the state of California. And what the press says and what these lawmakers pushing this are saying about Assembly Bill 495 is okay, well, circles around children, circles around individuals, human beings, okay? And we know in the past several years of the administration, the US government was very lax on who came and came into the United States of America, as far as undocumented illegal aliens, people who are coming to the United States of America. They were just not being vetted, and so we have cartel members, we have gang members, we have a lot of people that just on a what we would consider common sense, who are here. And and so the new administration, no matter how you feel about it, I think the fact that we're trying to get back to somewhat of a normalcy here in the United States. And so getting, some if not all, uh, of these bad people who shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here in the United States. They came illegally. Uh, and so that's where we're at. And so that's what is, Assembly Bill 495 and episode 307 of our TV show and podcast. You can find a lot of that detail. But this law in the state of California is aimed at children. And so whenever somebody says children, the guard kind of comes down like, oh, okay, we're talking about children, so we really need to pay attention. And we do need to pay attention. And this is Assembly Bill 495. You have legislatures members in the state of California and other areas of the country who are upset at ICE. So the basically the Immigration Enforcement Agency, who is leading uh, enforcing our laws that are on the books. So people can get upset all they want, but if there's laws already on the books and we're just enforcing them, that doesn't mean they're bad. Then pass a law that is different then. That's kind of, how you go about that. And so Assembly Bill 495 is statewide, state of California, is aimed at children of individuals who are in the United States illegally and who may be identified by ICE to, based off their background, uh, they've committed crimes. They might be on one of the lists to, deport, to fine and deport them. And so that can sometimes lead to, children being left alone. But that's not really what the press, and that's not really actually what Assembly Bill 495 says, because we read it on episode 307. We read the actual framework, the actual words on the bill. And this is not just aimed at children that are negatively impacted, by their family members, their moms or dads, their guardians who may be not nice people. And so what this actually does, what Assembly Bill 495 does, is it allows no parental consent, no court consent, no court proceeding, a one-page document that can be just typed up and say, hey, I'm the youth pastor, uh, I'm the coach of this child's team, and so I now have custody because parents are gone. And so what does that mean? That means that an Assembly Bill 495, who, oh, by the way, why we're bringing it up now, it's because it passed. So it's not just conjecture. It isn't just, water cooler talk. It was actually passed. Governor Gavin Newsom passed it. So there's a lot of things he won't pass, he won't look at. And we've talked about that with the San Diego district attorney, uh, where there's certain things been sitting on his desk for years and he hasn't touched them. But he's got no problem doing this because it goes after our president, Donald J. Trump. And so all this is politics and theater. Except it's not. We're dealing with real people here. Okay. So let's say an individual, a child, as a parent, they're here in the United States illegally. Their parents have done illegal things, illegal, have been convicted, and they're on the ICE list to be removed. And so ICE comes and gets them, and which, oh, by the way, we're not seeing the proof that these lawmakers like to tell us and say, oh, there's all these children that are being impacted and they're just being left to fend for themselves. They haven't shown us that proof. They're big on talk and they're very, very bad at actions. So to to target these children is not just these children, the ones that are impacted by these ICE actions. It's not the child's fault if the parents been up to devious acts, nefarious activity. It's not their fault. And again, these lawmakers in California haven't shown how every single time that this happens, that the child just is left to fend on their own. Maybe somewhere else that happens, but the country I live in, the United States of America, I don't believe that that happens. If it happens, it's a small percentage. And I think that if that does happen, that there's work being done so that doesn't happen, so that there is somewhere when an occurrence like this happens. But what I'm getting at is this Assembly Bill 495 is not just for these children that are impacted by these ICE uh, raids or these ICE events where they're these family members, these people that are convicted felons, have worst of the worst. Uh, they're here illegally, okay? If we try to go to another country illegally, guess what they're going to do? They're going to kick our ass right out. So we can chirp all we want, right? Y'all can tell us, oh, well, we had to do this and that. Well, have you ever thought about going to a different country? You can't just go and remain there and then remain and get free benefits. At least none that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody prove me wrong. Where you can just show up to another country and just start, collecting money and benefits. And I'm all for helping people. Heck, that's what our organization's all about, is helping people. You got to do it the right way. You got to do it the legal way. And so that's where we have those crossroads. And so this bill doesn't just impact uh, these children impacted by these ICE events. What led the legislature in California and Gavin Newsom, governor, with aspirations to run for president of the United States in the next cycle. Uh, because this is President Donald J. Trump's second term. So, unless somewhere in the Constitution gets changed, uh, he won't be able to do that. And so there's going to be probably some new faces that are going to come forward and be running for the presidency. And so what this Assembly Bill 495, and I say that a lot because I want it to get out there, this is very dangerous. It's dangerous for kids. It's dangerous for society. You might say, well, what do you mean? Okay. So let's say child one, just to hypothetically put something out here. Child one has a family member, as a mom and a dad, or one or both, who are fugitives, who are on the list to be deported. And so ICE comes in, they do their thing. And so this bill is supposed to protect, this child one. Uh, and which means that anybody can say that they're their guardian. They could come forward, and again, it could be a coach, it could be a pastor, it could be somebody says they're their pastor, somebody says that they're in y- a certain group that this child's in, that they're, a scout master or what have you. Uh, and they have all rights of the parents, including medical care. So these, gender affirming surgeries and, so it's detrimental to the child because the child, right? We know that the way the brain, the way it grows, the way it develops is from the back forward. So the frontal lobe, talks about reasoning and those types of things. That doesn't come till like you're in your, late teens, 20s. So you want us to believe that somebody who's 8 years old, 6 years old, 4 years old, 2 years old knows 100% that they want that. And I'd say no. And so it is a detriment to these children because these aren't just ICE children, right? Affected by ICE. These are all children. That's why we read in episode 307, we actually read the words in the actual assembly bill, not the talking points, not that what Gavin Newsom and others, uh, like Miss Rodriguez, uh, not what they say. They nitpick and they pull out one sentence out of, a 5, 6, 7 or longer page or act or bill, assembly bill, and they want us to believe that and then be like, oh yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. We should not be leaving these children alone. And I agree. We shouldn't be leaving these children alone at all. But to give somebody who is a non-parent, meaning a non-guardian that is not through blood relations, giving them also the ability to come in and say, "Hey, I'm this child's coach." Oh, okay. Go ahead. Take your child. No court intervention, no parent consent. And guess what happens? Sometimes the children disappear. So that's how we get to the public safety and public health concern of the public. So then all of a sudden, we're not just talking about children affected by ICE, we're talking about any child. So we talked about the uh, child at uh, let's say, at home watching TV or doing something, eating dinner, and one of the parents goes and changes their clothes and they're gone, whatever, maybe for 3 or 4 minutes. Some peeping Tom or Teresa look through the window and they see a child and they're like, oh, I don't see any parents. And so somehow, some way they gain access to the house. This is not a house that's affected by ICE. And they say, well, I don't see a parent or a guardian. So here, come with me. Guess what that's called? That's called human trafficking. That's that thing that we've talked about over and over and over and over and over again, that we've been getting so much flack, but also so much praise from all corners of the world that we're talking and sharing about this. If you're involved with it, of course we're against it. We're against any human trafficking. It doesn't matter what age you are. People say, oh, well, they only, traffickers only want, minor children under the age of 18. Oh, yeah? We'll tell that to one of our guests who was an adult who was trafficked. Okay. So before you get into, your whatever your political party is, your talking points, nitpicking, a multi-page document for a sentence and saying, "Oh, this is what it's about, and this is the selling point." Y'all need to check yourselves. Y'all need to read the full document. because I did. And it's not limited just to ICE affected children. It's to that child I just talked about in that definition there, or in that example, who's sitting down, eating dinner, mom or dad's at work, the other one's at home, and they're changing from the other work clothes to their, working outside clothes or just casual, comfy clothes. And in that amount of time, let's just say there's a basketball hoop in the driveway, and the child or the individual is shooting baskets. Parents inside changing, child's out shooting baskets. Car, white van pulls up. I don't see her mom or dad. I don't see a guardian. Swoop up that child, that person, that human being. Boom, and they're gone. And so again, we've gotten a lot of flack about talking about these subjects, this subject, and these examples. Well, if it wasn't happening, we wouldn't be covering it. And you ask, well, how does that affect mental health? Okay, well, if I'm the parent and I come downstairs and my child's not there, that's called trauma. It's like, what is going on? Where did my child go? They were just here a minute ago, 2 minutes ago. Where'd they go? Did they run away? Are they with their friends? And then you're frantically driving around the neighborhood or walking and knocking on doors. And boom, just like that, the child's gone. Just like magic. Child's gone. So anybody that wants to challenge us, come join us. Come tell us how Assembly Bill 495 that we detail further detail in our episode 307. Please tell us how that is only for ICE affected children. Because that's the hot point here, right? So people are upset about that. Oh, people are coming in the middle of the night and they're taking family members or what? Well, if they didn't commit a crime, if they came to this country legally, they should have no problem, no issues. We don't have issues with people who come with the legal process and people who follow the law. Again, if you're in the United States, you're a United States citizen, try going to a different country for an extended period of time and see how welcome you are in their country. Are you gonna get health benefits? You get a stipend for food and health care and everything? Probably not. I'm guessing not. There's not too many. I don't even know of one. I could be wrong because there's a lot of countries we have in our world. There may be one or a few out there that happens. Prove us wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me that the United States is not the only country that this can happen to, where U.S. citizen says, "Hey, I want to go to this country." Not just for vacation, not just to visit a loved one or a family, to stay there for years and years. And then that they don't show up if there's, a court date, and they just continue on collecting those benefits. Need a phone? Here's a phone. Need a car? Here's a car. You need a place to live? Here's a place to live. You need a TV. You need whatever you need. We got you covered. And so Assembly Bill 495 is dangerous in the fact that we just received word that that this was passed by Governor Gavin Newsom, Assembly Bill 495. is now active from our understanding and good faith. How's that make you feel? If you live in a different state than California, does that sound like something that you want to do? That you'd be cool with? Your government officials putting that into play? Is that what you voted for? You voted so that children can you voted for human traffickers to have an easier path to do their job and what they do and traffic children and individuals, even if they're adults. Somebody's a prodigy, somebody's good at something, somebody sees that there can be money to be made from an individual. That's why people other than minors are trafficked. And that's a surprise to a lot of people. Uh, some of our episodes we've had, some feedback from is, yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy. We're living in the United States of America and this is happening and it's allowing human traffickers, it's giving them a free pass. It's making their job easier because they don't got to worry about like, oh, well, the parent's not here. So again, like I said, it's not Assembly Bill 495 is not just for ICE related events and ICE related children. That's one of the points in that Assembly Bill, but that's not all. It doesn't, the whole document, the whole Assembly Bill is not just for ICE impacted children. That again, people want to come forward and say, "Oh yeah, we're mad at the Trump administration, so yeah, we need to go against them." And so yeah, we don't agree with these ICE raids and coming after people that are here illegally and that are dangerous and that. So yeah, we're going to come out with this Assembly bill, and that's going to protect the children. Yeah, I'll say it again. Said it once, said it many times. For someone to pass a law, a bill, or an act, any type of law that doesn't specify it throughout the entire law, not just one piece of it, either A, you didn't read the bill, you didn't read the actual paper, or two, and so that's giving you the benefit of the doubt of saying, you know what, hey, I didn't read it, but I voted for it. My bad. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Can't take it back, but I guess I should have read it. So that's choice one. Guess what choice two is? Not that you didn't read it. It's that you're darn well sure you read it. You know darn well sure what is in that, and you may be benefiting from this. We're hearing more and more how people in government and different places of power who are finally being, uh, we got James Comey, with the Russia deal. We now have John Bolton, who uh, has, classified documents. Uh, and so these are people that are in power or were in power, and one way or another, they're involved for their well-being. So again, I say it again, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. Either for all the people, all the legislatures in California who voted for this and to get this onto Governor Gavin Newsom, not only those that helped get it on the desk of Gavin Newsom, but for Gavin himself, which we've invited, and we have no qualms as a human. So we've reached out, and we'll continue to reach out to have Gavin on our show, and he can answer those questions. And then we'll go on his show. We'll head out there and we'll go ahead and be on his podcast. But because Gavin is running, all signs point for the presidency of the United States. That's why this is a bigger difference. It's not just a California, these super majority, these super states with, population and uh, electoral votes that they get for elections. There's that, but when you have somebody like that who then comes to the national forefront and is campaigning for president of the United States, a zebra never changes its stripes. You think Gavin's going to change if he becomes president, vice president? Heck no. He's going to continue doing what he's done before. And so he's going to take what he quote unquote accomplished in California, and he's going to try to bring that to all of us in the United States, to all states, not just California. And that's why we're making such a big deal about this, because we want the awareness to everybody across the United States and across the world that this is happening. And we've had, if you go back to our episode 307, there's a pastor that we mentioned there through our research that said that if this gets passed, he's telling people at his church, do they need to get the heck out of California? Because this isn't just, again, this just isn't for ICE children, ICE impacted children. This is for all children. And so, like I said, for that parent that's going to the bathroom at the zoo, or is changing clothes and their child outside shooting baskets, or uh, doing, kid stuff, playing with toys, and somebody looks in and somehow they gain access, child's gone. So you want to talk about mental health and trauma? I talked about that. That would be a very traumatic event. In the know that we have people in the state of California, enough people in the state of California on the legislative side that say we don't like the Trump administration doing this. So here's how we're going to go after them. We can dislike policies, we can dislike that, but we're talking about humans here. So Gavin, anybody else in the legislature, what happens if that's your child that happens to? Huh? Yeah, you heard me. What happens? What happens if that happens to your child? Oh, that would never happen to me because I live in a gated community and I have private security and I got all these things that like the average person like myself and others that we don't have. But what if that were to occur? We don't want that to occur. But I bet your tune changes if it's your child or your nephew, your niece, and they disappear. And then you have people saying, well, look, this was passed, so and then they say, well, no, I thought that was only for ICE infected children. Oh no, that's actually just, the one sentence or two that's in there, and it's actually for all children. So again, we don't reside in California, Um, but from what we can see and what we have seen with Gavin signing this into law in the state of California, Assembly Bill 495 is active. And now I know my good friend, the San Diego District Attorney, Summer Stephan, she's adamantly, vehemently against this, just as we are. And I know she's doing everything in her power, in her jurisdiction, that if somebody is undertaking human trafficking, children trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking, any trafficking, drug trafficking, that she wants to make it clear that they're not welcome in her jurisdiction, her San Diego County. So we need more of Summer Steffens across not only state of not only across the state of California, but across the United States and across the world. We have to start talking about, what would be the reason why we would go forward with something like this? That we're not just going to call it out for ICE impacted children if that happens, and how many has that happened to? What are the statistics on that? That's what I want to know. That's what I think a lot of people want to know. We're going to go through all this trouble, all these votes. Where are the statistics that say 1,000 ICE impacted children woke up and didn't know what was going on, and or 10,000 or 20,000 or 500? What's the number? Give us the facts, give us the analytics. Don't just throw stuff and pull the wool over our eyes. We're not stupid. We weren't born yesterday, Gavin, just like you weren't born yesterday. So give us the real stats, not the, oh, well, the Trump derangement syndrome, or no, I'm not talking about that. Give us the real facts of what you had put in this Assembly Bill 495 that you just signed into law. That was so important to do that, yet you don't want to go after the actual traffickers. So I'll say it again one last time. Either A or one, you didn't read the whole thing and you're bamboozled, or the wool was pulled over your eyes and you signed it, or you voted for it, or number two, which it's looking more and more likely, unfortunately, Gavin, the others that voted for it, Gavin that signed it, why'd you sign it? So if you're saying, oh, my bad, I didn't read it all, well, I'm pretty sure there's ways you can nullify an act or a law. So if that first option of you didn't read it, if that wasn't the case, what would be the reason why you would say it's okay for all children, not just the affected children, all children, that they can have somebody that's not a blood relative come and claim that child if a parent walks away for a minute? Oh, I don't see them with a parent or guardian, so I need to go save them. Well, how do you think how human traffickers work? That's their job. That's what they do. It's sick, but that's what they do. And so you're making it way too easy for them to do their job. And so we like to say, okay, you didn't read the whole bill. You didn't read the whole Assembly Bill 495. So you can't use that excuse and say, oh, I read it, so I signed it or I voted for it. But to say, oh no, I read it. And now you look at it and you actually look at it and you have others look at it and see what it actually says. So if you read it, you can't use excuse number two. Or if you say you read it, then number two comes along and says, well, you're guilty as charged too. You're part of you're part of the individuals who are doing these activities. And I'm not alleging this, I'm not accusing, I'm just talking common sense. Because if I read something and I'm able to understand it and I read it, I can say, "Oh, I didn't read it. I didn't mean to vote that way. Is there a way I can change my vote?" None of that went on, not to the levels that it needed to be able to make that change. So if you're not saying, "Oh, I didn't read it. I didn't mean to vote yes," then number two comes along and says, "Well, you're not saying you didn't read it, so you're saying you read it, and given what it says, are you one of them? Are you one of the traffickers? Are you one of those individuals?" I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it from like a logical, easy, uh, a layperson's point of view, saying, well, I'm going to put myself in their shoes, the legislatures, the individuals that voted. So bill comes in, we look at it, gets voted on, and I vote yes. And then it goes to the governor's desk. He or she signs it in the law. It makes people look a lot guilty. Makes them very guilty. Like they might be part of that, part of the problem, part of the group or groups, right? That's lobbyists lobbying for certain topics, certain areas. Talking about children, folks. Talking about children, not just ice affected children. We're talking about all children. We're talking about even adults, adult prodigies that are just great at what they do. Same thing. So that's what we want to do with this show. We wanted to talk about it because Assembly Bill 495 in the state of California has become a signed piece of legislation from Governor Gavin Newsom. And so we want to warn anybody with any children or a prodigy in their household and we want to warn you about this because now that it's signed into law, unless there's a like a period of time before it takes effect. Maybe it doesn't take effect till January. I don't know. But now that it's signed from the governor, the days are getting shorter and shorter the amount of days until that takes effect. And if we think people are taking advantage of children and the whole trafficking trade and all that now, just wait till this piece of legislation goes into effect. If it didn't already went with the signature. And so that's where we're coming from, that mental health side and that human side. People say, well, that you don't live there, so okay. Yeah, we don't live there. It's still a public safety concern, public health concern. Because you have an individual, again, as I mentioned, and this will be the last thing to cover in this show, this particular episode, is we have an individual who has higher aspirations than just the governorship of the state of California. They see themselves as running for president of the United States someday. And so the policies and laws and acts and bills and all those things that were covered and occurred under that individual's authority, or governor or uh, another politician, senator, House representative, state senator. They're going to try bringing that to the whole country. Don't don't think for 1 second they're not going to do that. We're not going to try to do that. That's why we're bringing it up, because we care about all humanity. We care about all children. We care about people in Ohio. We care about people in California. We care about people in the whole United States. We care about people across the world. And that's why we're going to leave this show by saying, please be a voice for you or somebody in need. Check out that episode 307, and you're going to see and hear more about Assembly Bill 495, which has now been signed into law by Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And we say, God bless the United States of America, and God bless you wherever you may be, near or far, close to me, close to us, or at an area, and another country, province, uh, city, municipality. Uh, Again, we want to help children. We want to help everybody. But when we see something that's as blatant as this is, we feel it's important enough to put a show out for it. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, that's episode 307. You can learn more about Assembly Bill 495. And keep your children close if you're in the state of California and everywhere, but especially the state of California. So until next time, this is Justin Allen Hayes signing off for Voices for Voices. If you can subscribe, please subscribe, like, share, follow. Big thumbs up. We love you all. Have a great evening, a great day, a great morning, great afternoon. We'll see you next time. We love you.